The wait for a game can be long, but sometimes it becomes too long. There are projects that see the light of day a decade after their announcement, and unfortunately, most of these projects that take a long time and are postponed every year end up resulting in a worse game. In the case of a sequel, it is far inferior to what they presented, which is curious because one would think that the time they have asked for is to improve the project, but in the end, it gives the impression that they had many problems and had to include other people's projects, so that the final game becomes a mixture of many contradictory ideas. A case that took a long time for a saga was Kingdom Hearts 3. This title was produced and distributed by Square Enix, where they take the liberty of creating a story with characters from Disney movies, and sporadically a character from the video game company appears. You could say it's a crossover, but in my opinion, as the saga progressed, the latter were increasingly relegated to small appearances, to the point that they no longer appear. Apart from this, it is an action RPG, which was released in 2019 for the PlayStation 4, and for the first time a title from this franchise came out for the Xbox One. There are also strong rumors that there could be an adaptation for the Nintendo Switch. This title is the third installment of the main story of the saga. I put that in quotes because every game that bears the Kingdom Hearts title contributed its grain of sand to enrich the story. In this case, this installment takes place after the title Kingdom Hearts 3D, Dream Drop Distance being the 10th title that follows the story arc, not counting compilations, and since the second installment, 14 years of waiting have passed. To begin this story, we find that Riku has become a Keyblade master and sets off with King Mickey in search of Aqua, since the sinister and mysterious Xehanort has returned, and Master Yen Sid is searching for his 7 Warriors of Light to interrupt his evil plans. But Sora, after what happened in the previous game, lost most of his powers and is entrusted, along with Donald and Goofy, to recover the power of waking. So he embarks on an odyssey through different worlds in order to regain the ability to restore lost hearts. That is how our 3 half-empty vessels begin their journey. The game uses mechanics similar to its predecessors, especially the numbered installments. We will have to fight groups of enemies in a portion of the world, and after defeating them, they will give us experience in the form of orbs that will increase our level and therefore our statistics, as well as unlock abilities. We will move freely to finish off the hordes of enemies that appear sporadically. We can jump, attack, lock onto enemies, cast magic spells, dodge blows, perform certain movements with objects in the environment such as spins and wall jumps, things that were added in past installments, but feel much more comfortable to do because many factors have been polished. Also, the control is much more pleasant than playing on a handheld console. As an example, I can mention the screen arrangement because on consoles you could do it with a simple movement of the right stick, while on the others you could only do it with the shoulder buttons, which becomes very imprecise. In fact, they have improved things like underwater combat, which used to be a nightmare. In this game, it is presented in a way that allows you to spend more time without the feeling of wanting to finish as soon as possible. Apart from this, several new combat and movement features have been added. Now we can climb walls, which changes the structure of the levels. At the same time, we can fight in this position. Additionally, we can summon different amusement park attractions to finish off the Heartless, called Attraction Flow. We also have a power that slows down time and allows you to shoot enemies. The most powerful of all is the transformation of your Keyblade. By dealing damage, it fills a meter that allows a change in patience and its virtues when activated. They also have unique attacks that can end with a powerful blow. This makes each Keyblade no longer just an upgrade with a change in appearance. But no matter how weak or strong it is, you can adapt better to one or another and thereby improve your strategy. In some worlds, we will have different events. For example, we can ride a giant toy to attack enemies, sail the seas to explore different islands and fight ships to sink them, or slide down different snowy slopes. In this respect, it has given each world an identity and unique freedom. As became customary in the saga, to enter a new world we have to reach it, which was extremely boring and frustrating, but as has happened, they have improved it. Now we will be on an open map in our Gyumi ship, which we can customize. We can fight other ships whenever we want. To do this, we simply have to approach them. and we will be presented with a shooting game very similar to Space Invaders. Upon finishing, we will be given a score, while our ship will also level up to access new blueprints and weapons. As I said, we now control the ship at will and can explore space, finding attachments, money, collectibles, and fight exclusive bosses in these zones. Maybe it doesn't surpass the main game and can sometimes be tedious, but they improved it to the point where you can enjoy it and stay a while in this portion of the game. One of the biggest problems is that to understand a bit of what is happening, it is necessary to play the previous installments, so it can be tough for those who want to get into this saga. Although there are some videos at the beginning that explain the story, they don't provide much detailed explanation and cover it superficially, leaving out important things, so it is necessary to play them to delve deeper. Each world has its own story, which we can divide into two different types. The first are those based on a narrative similar to the Disney movie we are in, but adapted to the game. This can cause several problems. The main one, or at least the one I encountered and didn't like, is that many times they set aside the story of its namesake, only to pick it up again without any reference to what is happening. This is seen mainly with the villains. You don't know who the villain is or his motives if you haven't seen the movies, which causes a large part of the narrative to be lost, something that didn't happen much in previous titles. The second type is a kind of continuation. This is where I liked it the most because it allows you to give continuity to them and may serve as an unofficial sequel to those films, allowing you to better delve into their worlds and motives. Added to this is that Donald's magic has the same virtue of transforming the trio to give them a friendly appearance to the world's inhabitants so as not to disrupt order. Now we can see different characters that are in them and live there. They're only affected by the events that occur, giving more life to the places. The scenarios are huge, very colorful, and we can explore them in whichever way we like best, finding chests and collectibles. For me, this is the best thing it has and offers because they are not inhospitable places. Together with music that is very similar to what is shown in the movies, it allows us to better immerse ourselves in their worlds. Something to highlight is that before you could only have two companions who behaved and moved freely, and when a new character arrived, you had to leave someone on the bench. That no longer happens here. Your group can include the two friends and add two more who will be in combat, which allows your team to remain and continue growing. We will also have combined attacks with them, together with the other new friends. Once the world is completed, we will be given the commemorative Keyblade of that place. All enemies, characters, and various story matters are recorded by Jiminy Cricket. Now everything is stored in the Gummophone, which serves the function of a journal, a kind of smartphone of this universe. In the story, it will be the method of communication, while in the game you can take photos, where characters will make different movements when you focus on them, take selfies, capture enemies, or appreciate the scenery. In the Gummophone's apps, records of mini-games, some recipes, character data, a very limited glossary of words will be stored. In short, it will be the place where everything is recorded. Perhaps the most important function is that it will store the mini-games we find from the Classic Kingdom by finding QR codes, a series of levels that emulate the appearance of LCD games, representing some old short films of the company. 23 very simple but entertaining games that can take up hours and create challenges with your friends. The most important and impressive thing is the old cartoon style combined with the style of these types of games. Apart from this, we will have other mini-games scattered across the different worlds. One of them is cooking with the little chef, and we will have to find ingredients scattered everywhere to be able to make recipes and thereby the special dish, which when consumed gives a semi-permanent increase to your attributes. To orient ourselves, we need to find a map of the area, which is deposited in a chest. Unfortunately, we cannot see an enlarged version of it, and we only rely on a mini-map that is positioned at one corner as another element on the screen, like health and commands. The game has an autosave that works when we enter a cutscene or reach a world. Apart from that, we can manually save by finding a circular green aura on the floor, which also serves to move from one area to another, go to the Gumi ship, or even move to the restaurant. Besides the missions, we will have to photograph lucky emblems, objects or stains that form the Mickey Mouse logo. These will be hidden in all worlds, and we will have to find the right angle and distance to photograph them. Doing so will give you rewards in the form of items. Meanwhile, on the Gyumi ship, we can do the same, but instead we will photograph stars that form the silhouette of some Final Fantasy creature. Also, the Mogles, who are the shop vendors, will ask you for specific photos, will increase the power of each Keyblade, and you'll be able to create rarer items at their synthesis shop. The enemies are very curious and resemble the inhabitants of the worlds. Unfortunately, I feel there are very few of them, especially the new enemies, the unversed creatures born from negative feelings. But in general, enemies have advantages and disadvantages, different ways of attacking, and we must adapt to defeat them. The bosses are very impressive. Some will be huge, and we have the ability to climb them. We must hit them in specific regions. The vast majority are very good, but in some cases we won't understand why they are evil, because the game doesn't deign to explain this, and you'll have to watch the movie to understand this factor and why he is the villain. There will also be some that are directly from the movies. Some DLC for the game is awaited, which could add some worlds, games, include new Keyblades, or serve as a link for a next installment. As of the date of this video's creation, there is still no news, only rumors. The game is good and embodies a very significant improvement in terms of gameplay. The use of attractions allows you to change combat and avoid monotony. The inclusion of mini-games is a plus that is hardly seen now. The improvement of the Gyumi ship, the underwater movement, and the combat in these areas are appreciated and even enjoyable. The worlds are huge, and there is always something to see and search for. The secondary characters that accompany you have good moves, and their story becomes enjoyable. Overall, the game is beautiful in terms of its art, but not everything is glorious. The biggest problem I have with it is the story. It leaves many things unexplained. In fact, you have to take some things as contextless. Some powers are there just because and are not explained, which is strange since they at least deign to give a backstory to the Gumophone. Together with what I said before about the world stories, they leave many factors unimportant, especially in the final phases. I feel that it is so poorly explained that they had to resort to a series of Deus Ex Machina to continue it, which creates many plot holes. And this is not a matter of time, because they were in development for over a decade. And even so, they don't explain many important things well. So you'll be even more confused, something that can be set aside if you blank your mind, contemplating more and asking less. Another thing I didn't like is that they set aside everything they had from Final Fantasy, except for cameos. These characters no longer show their presence. In fact, there is no appearance of them at all. I would recommend it to all fans of the saga. It is a good conclusion, perhaps not the one you might expect, and it also opens up the possibility of new installments. Due to the number of mini-games and things to do, it becomes a title that will please all those who like to explore and find things. If you like RPGs, it is a great game, perhaps not very complex, but enjoyable. Also, if you like Disney characters, this game has a cast you will like. I would not recommend it for the reasons mentioned above, but aside from that, there are factors that can be set aside. However, if you don't like Disney or don't like RPGs, you will find it very hard to find a reason to enjoy it. Maybe it's not what one expected. It took a long time to develop, and the game creates more confusion than clarifications. But in the end, it is a game that focused more on its gameplay and brought with it delight and substantial improvement, which without a doubt is a great title of the saga. That is Kingdom Hearts 3. I hope you liked the video. If so, give it a like. If you know someone who might like it, share on your social media, and don't forget to subscribe if you like the channel. If you have any questions, have any suggestions, or simply want to comment something, don't hesitate to do so in the comment box. Also, if you're a big fan of this channel, activate the notification bell to be among the first to see the videos. Thank you very much for watching this video. See you later.